Let me ask you a question. Who really runs your house? Seriously, who sets the rules? Who makes sure the work gets done? And who decides what happens when things don't go according to plan? If you can't answer that in a heartbeat, well, you're definitely not alone. Because let's be honest, for a lot of families, when there isn't a clear, agreed upon plan, the thing that ends up in charge is just chaos. You know what I'm talking about. The arguments over chores, the confusion over who was supposed to do what, that feeling that everybody's playing by a different rule book. But what if there was a better way? What if you could bring the kind of clarity you find in a well-run organization right into your own home? Well, today, that's what we're digging into. It's a really powerful idea from a retired clinical psychologist, creating family job descriptions. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll talk about why those unwritten family rules cause so many problems. Then, we'll introduce this whole concept of a family job. After that, we're going to get super practical. We'll break down how to define the roles, what the rewards and consequences look like, and finally, how you can build your very own family agreement. Okay, let's dive right in with the heart of the problem, those invisible, unspoken rules that are floating around in most of our homes. This insight comes from Lane Lasater, a retired clinical psychologist. And what he argues is that the reason families get into so many conflicts is actually pretty simple. It's because nobody ever sat down and actually agreed on what their jobs are. It's all just assumed. And that's exactly where the trouble with understood rules starts. Think of it like washing the car. You might think it's understood what that means, but does it include vacuuming the inside, wiping the windows streak-free? What about the tires? When it's not written down, everyone can have a totally different picture in their head. And that, right there, is a recipe for conflict. Written rules, though, they bring clarity. They bring harmony. So this leads us directly to the big idea, the solution to all this confusion. It's a really simple but powerful shift in thinking. What if everyone in the family had a clear, defined job? And that's what a family job description is. It's exactly what it sounds like, a written agreement that everybody helps create and signs off on. It clearly spells out what's expected of every single person, what they get for doing their part, and, just as importantly, what happens if they don't. So why does this work so well? Because it just yanks all the guesswork and a lot of the emotion out of the equation. You're not dealing with assumptions anymore. You're dealing with a clear agreement. This cuts down on arguments, gives everyone a target to aim for, and maybe most important of all, it creates real accountability. Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. What does this blueprint actually look like in practice? We'll start with the foundation, the stuff that applies to absolutely everyone. Right, so some things are non-negotiable for everybody, no matter how old you are. Think of these as the ground rules for being on the team. Showing respect and affection, thinking about other people's needs, absolutely no violence, and actually talking things out. This is the baseline. Then you have the leaders of the house, the parents or parent figures. Their job description is pretty unique. It's about providing for the family, setting reasonable rules and boundaries, making sure everyone's healthy, and helping solve problems. They're basically the managers, the ones steering the ship. And of course, the kids have their own super important role. Their job focuses on growth and cooperation. Things like doing their best in school, exploring their interests, following the family rules, and being part of the solution when there's a disagreement. Now, here's a really crucial point. Even though this should be a discussion where everyone has a voice, the source material is very clear about this. The parents or parent figures have the ultimate responsibility. They get the final say on what goes into the agreement. So no job description is complete until you know the stakes, right? What happens when you do a great job? And what happens when you don't? This is where the rewards and consequences come into play. Let's start with the good stuff, the payoff. When you hold up your end of the bargain, you earn more than just a thumbs up. We're talking about earning more trust, being forgiven when you mess up, and getting to be part of special family treats or vacations. For kids, this can mean earning more freedom as they show they can handle it. And on the flip side of that coin, there have to be consequences. Now, this isn't about punishment, it's about reality. If you don't meet your responsibilities, you have to accept that other people might be disappointed, you might lose some privileges, and yeah, you might miss out on those special treats. It's all about learning that your actions have results. Okay, so you get the problem, you see the solution, but how do you actually make this happen in your own home? Let's walk through a simple, clear action plan to create your own family agreement. Here it is in 5 basic steps. First, get everybody together to talk about these ideas. Go through the lists and see what feels right. Second, make it your own. Customize and edit it, add things, take things away, reword stuff so it fits your family. Third, like we said, parents get the final say on any disagreements. Fourth, once it's done, everyone formally agrees to it, a real commitment. And last, but definitely not least, remember this isn't set in stone. Plan to check in and revise it as your family grows and things change. And that really brings us to the final thought. Just take a second and imagine. Think about the arguments you could skip, the trust you could build, the things you could accomplish together. So the real question isn't just who runs your house. It's what could your family become with a clear shared plan?